We have here today Mr Kokshoorn, the Mayor of Grey District, who made quite an announcement in that he's not standing again for Mayor in 2019. So we thought we'd get him down here today just to speak on his decision and maybe to highlight some of the things some of the milestones along his long tenure as Mayor, and give some insight into the future of the district too, perhaps. So welcome, Tony.
Hi, how are you, Brendan?
Good. So what sort of led to the decision, I guess? You've been there for a while.
Yep, I've been on council for 21 years now,
yeah.
And I've given it my all from day one. You know, I was on the trucks when they were stopping the native cut of the timber here on the west coast, protesting, and it's always been a place of struggle over the last 20 years where we've had to move slowly but surely from extractive industries across to sustainable industries. I've tried to drive that myself. There's been a lot of projects that I've fronted also. You know, I've always had a project to actually progress around, like the aquatic centre, going right back. I raised the funds for the aerodrome lights, for the emergency flights. Then I raised the funds for the search and rescue bus here on the west coast. I was involved with the SPCA building that we built. Then there was the aquatic centre, which was a huge undertaking. The new stadium. So I've always been project orientated, the town square behind us, and this is how we'll make the town go ahead. You can't just come up with ideas anymore. You have to roll your sleeves up, you have to front the project, you have to be the fundraiser.
So what, maybe, and that's interesting, Tony, because you've had high energy in your job. Just tell us a bit about what led you into the mayoralty in the first place. What drove you from that time that you decided to stand?
I've never said that before, Brendan, but the reason why I decided to stand for council is that in 1997 the council work unit that they had, which is similar to Westroads in Hokitika, we had our unit called Central Western Services, and I chaired that with a board of directors, and in the first year of a new company we made an $800,000 profit. So that gave that company quite a bit of value. Then the councillors of the day decided to put it out for sale, and Westroads, our cousin from down in Hokitika, they bought that company, and that has been a major success for them. We should never have sold that company, and that was a solid advice I gave the council at the time. So I lost my job as the chair because it had gone to Hokitika. So I decided, look, I will actually stand for council to make sure this type of thing doesn't happen again, because you have to build your economy around you. And we could have had a lot of cash flow from that company, and it didn't happen.
Okay. So coming into council back then, how did you find the culture of that?
Well, I was voted on to council. I only got the fourth amount of votes for the central ward that we've got here, and then at the next election I got the highest amount of votes, and then the next election after that I stood for mayor, and I got on with a landslide majority at the time, and I've never been opposed since. So it's been extremely hard work, one where you have to roll your sleeves up, you have to front everything. There's never a dull day. Every time you're getting a good run, look over your shoulders, there's a bad run coming. But the west coast is like that. We have had booms and busts, but we are slowly now moving to an economy that is sustainable. And I think we're really starting that now, and I think we've got a real bright future.
What would you say have been some of the biggest personal challenges in the job as mayor?
Personal challenges have definitely been the Pike River disaster. There's no handbook for that, and when you put yourself forward and are a mayor, you have to take and step up to the plate for anything that comes along. Well, I never expected that, and it was the fact that my father was always in coal mines and my wife was a coal miner's daughter, that actually the passion came out. We knew that we had to stand by the families, and we all know the history of Pike River disaster. That was extremely tough on our economy. We're working through that, albeit it's nearly 8 years and it's still continuing. But I always said I'd stand by the families, and I still will.
So what's your plans now that you've decided to step back from what is quite a public role?
plan now just to have no plans, quite frankly. At the end of this term, I'm having a blank sheet in front of me, and I'm going to take that blank sheet. I'm certainly going to be busy. I've still got ants in my pants, but I just want to have some more time for the family and the grandchildren. I think it's time after 21 years. My wife Lynn, she stood by me steadfastly over the years, and she would continue to, but I think it's fair that I now take it a bit easier and give them the time they deserve as well. I'll still be around town. I've got a lot of projects still to do, and I'm a member of a lot of volunteer organisations. I've organised over $30 million of fundraising over the years for West Coast charities, and the projects that I have put in place, like we've spent $130 million through council over the last 10 to 12 years on new infrastructure, sewerage schemes, water supply, and all sorts of things. The aquatic centre, stadium. So we're in a good space now to move forward.
What would you say the next mayor needs to bring to the job to move the district forward?
The criteria you must have for a mayor is you must have lots of enthusiasm. You must be prepared to work hard and go beyond what a mayor is normally asked to do. We have to do that because we live in a competitive environment now, and to stay ahead, to be ahead of the bunch, you have to roll your sleeves up and get stuck in.
What would you like to see Grey looking like in the next 10 to 20 years? You know, have you got a dream or a vision that you know yourself you can't make work maybe in the short term, but for the future, what would you like to see?
Well, we're in a transition, and if you look at Greymouth, Greymouth itself's going really well. If you drive from Pohara Hotel into the Greymouth CBD, it looks fantastic. There's a huge amount of building going on, the new hospital's going up, the new Taramaka Bridge, so there's a lot happening to make us proud of Greymouth. The problem we have is it's a game of two halves. The other half is that with commerce, we don't need the bricks and mortar in the future because of online buying like we have today. So there will be buildings that will go. This is not just Greymouth, this is small town New Zealand, and that will be painful. Online buying is changing the way commerce will be into the immediate future and forever. So we have to accept that there are adjustments downtown. We've got a problem with Reventons at the moment. There will be others that follow that. We have to be patient. The town will be a great CBD in the future. We have got untapped potential for tourism in it. Little towns like Hokitika are going extremely well and humming away because of tourism. We can be exactly like that. We have to build towards that. We've got a lot of sustainable industry around us, fish processing, agriculture and tourism. There's a lot to happen, and we can actually make it happen if we all row the boat in the same direction.
What are some of the political challenges that you've enjoyed the most in your job as mayor, aside from the public persona, the behind the scenes things that you've had to do?
Well, surprisingly, I love the cut and the thrust of council meetings. I love the debate with the councillors. It's always been good, but I've had a good council around me always. Even though we've had our differences of opinion, we have always played as a team, and that's to the credit of everyone. The CEO, he's been conscientious over the years. The fact that no one's opposed me has been a feather in the cap for all those years. But I think that's because I have led by example, rolled my sleeves up and been out there. But we have certainly had some awkward situations I've had to work through, but I've always been one of those types of people that's had ants in his pants. I've had to talk me way out of a paper bag a few times because I've talked myself into it also. I've sold cars for years. I've had the gift of the gab, so when I've needed to, I've actually used my articulate powers to actually get us through.